Today is finally the day, Dyno Day, for my cheap 2003 SVT Terminator Cobra. And if you missed why it's so cheap, go watch the first video to see how I scooped this thing up for under 17,000 American dollars or 23,000 Canadian dollars. Now, I've already done some general maintenance. If you've missed that video, that would be the second video. So in that video, we changed the oil, we changed the supercharger oil, we changed the transmission fluid. That's all the general maintenance that we did because I wanted to keep this as stock as possible in stock, in the sense that the way that I bought it in, because it has been modified. I will get to all that a little bit later. But we didn't change the spark plugs. I do have some service records. Those have already been changed fairly recently. We will be doing those a little bit later when we get to the performance stuff. The fun stuff is coming. This is going to be a whole build series coming right up right after this video. We didn't change the differential fluid because that looked pretty clear when we checked it in the first video. The differential cover needs to be resealed anyways. It's leaking a little bit. It's like one drop every 2 to 3 weeks, so I don't really care about that. So now the fun begins. Dyno. I'm gonna go to Joe D'Souza of D'Souza Performance, who built my Fox body, who did the dyno tuning on that. He has a Mustang dyno. That's going to be the word of the day. This is not a dyno jet, and everybody on the internet knows that Mustang dynos read lower than dyno jets. So my Fox body, after all the modifications, put down 295 wheel horsepower and 305 wheel torque at this exact same dyno. And you're not supposed to compare dyno to dyno in different locations, so that's the only baseline of performance that I have because it was the exact same dyno. You're supposed to be able to compare before and after, which is why I'm dynoing this at Joe's, because Joe is going to be doing the tuning on this thing once we're done with all the modifications. Now, I've just had my morning coffee. I'm gonna head over to Joe's, and remember, Mustang dyno, word of the day. I'll keep explaining that. So I just got to D'Souza Performance. Right here is the front of the entrance, but we're gonna go around to the back because that's where you enter for the dyno. The most important part of Dyno Day is to have your excuses lined up, and I've got plenty. So before we pull the car in, I'm just gonna let it cool down. I got here about half an hour early. I'm already venting the hood. Let's get to the excuses that I have ready. So here's what I'm thinking. First of all, it's really hot outside today. It's about 30 degrees Canadian, so about 90 degrees American. So it is pretty hot. It is early in the morning. It's gonna get even hotter. It's very, very humid today. Excuse number 2, it's a Mustang dyno. So the previous owner told me that this thing makes approximately 500 horsepower. I'm assuming he meant to the crank. So by my math and generally accepted internet math, that makes it put down approximately 425 to the wheels on a dyno jet, because 15% is the standard drivetrain loss that everyone seems to accept for a rear-wheel drive manual car. Now, this is a Mustang dyno. Mustang dynos apparently read about 10% or 12% lower than a dyno jet. So this should be approximately 380 wheel horsepower on the Mustang dyno today. So, I mean, I think that sounds about right. So I'm gonna guess 375 is what I'm hoping for. I already spoke to Ben from Dixie Blower Service. He's guessing approximately 370, and we'll see if we can get an answer from Joe. But Joe's a quiet guy, and I like to respect everybody's boundaries, so I don't want to bother Joe too much. But Joe's a really smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He's going to tune the heck out of this thing when we're done with it. So I'm excited to see what's going on, and can't think of any other excuses. Let's see what else we got. Oh, major one. There is an exhaust leak. I tried my best to solve it, but it's still got an exhaust leak, and it's mostly through a section that we will be replacing in the near future. So I tried my best to fix it, but outside of that, I think we're good to go. So let's get this thing in here. Let's see if we can get this thing in here. Do you have any predictions on what this might make?
Stock?
No, it's got a smaller pulley, but I think it's like a 2.9-ish pulley. It's got that intake and a full exhaust with shorty headers, I believe.
Full exhaust with shorty header.
Yes, but there is an exhaust leak in the X pipe, I believe.
Behind the O2?
The O2 is actually cracked around the bung. The front O2.
Yeah, the important one.
Yeah. I tried to seal it up as best I could. I put the exhaust putty, but...
All right, well, I'm not going to make any predictions then.
All right, fair. I don't expect the number to be high, but don't worry. I'm coming back with all good parts.
Sitting up and say as a tune.
Yes. Again, we don't know anything about it. So what are you doing here?
You need a ignition pickup for the RPM.
Okay.
So they had to get it from under this on one of the coils.
Got it. So that'll tell you what RPM the engine's at, and then
For the dyno.
For the dyno, yeah, got it. Okay. And I'm like 99% sure this is a 2.9 because it's making around 12 pounds on the gauge. Good? All right, so that means we have ignition signal.
Yeah.
So what you've done is,
just want to make sure.
so you hook this up to the ignition coil, and then that runs all the way over here to this, which is going to tell us our horsepower and torque and all that fun stuff.
We'll set it up for this car because we haven't had this one yet.
Yeah. I'm going to dyno this myself.
Yes.
Okay, so what do I do first?
Okay, you're just going to get it up to the RPM in 4th gear.
Yeah.
Just under the 3,000.
Okay.
When you get close, you're going to start it, make the pull to 65.
Yep.
And it will say test stopping.
So it will know that I'm at 65.
Once you hit 65, it'll actually stop itself.
Okay.
If you let off for any reason before that,
Yep.
you can just shut it off manually. You just got to see start, stop,
Okay.
stop, and no big deal.
Okay, and I don't hit the brakes ever.
No.
Got it.
Just slow down in gear. You can lightly apply the brakes.
Yep.
Don't be that asshole and
Nope.
crank them hard. But that's it.
Okay.
There's no magic to it.
All right.
What I do here is once I, just for vibration wise,
Yep.
put it on test start and then flip the mouse over. Because
Okay.
otherwise with the vibration, sometimes the
Got it.
cursor will
Okay.
disappear on you.
All right.
All right, let me just finish this up.
Do I need a fan or anything, or is this good?
Set you up.
Okay. I'm gonna start all these recordings. Well, that's a fun surprise. I get to dyno this thing myself. I've never dynoed a car before, but it seems pretty straightforward for the most part. As long as I hit the button at the right time. Can't really screw that up, hopefully. So I get to, what is it, 3,000. All right, so at 2,800, push the button and then send it.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, you're good.
All right, here we go. I didn't expect this. Joe with the surprises. I'm gonna put my seatbelt on, otherwise it's gonna beep the whole time. Yeah. I know I'm not going anywhere, but last thing I need is a beep the entire time. I'm just gonna film my reaction because I never get to do this. I'll show you guys the dyno chart and stuff after. Okay, so 2,800 is when we wanna do it. 3,000 is when it starts, so we're in 4th gear. We're gonna slow down and I'm gonna hit the button. All right, let's go see what kind of number we made. Is it high or low? Okay, okay.
427, 444 torque.
Oh yeah, all right. 437, 427? Damn.
437 torque, 437, 438 quarters.
Okay. That's pretty good. That's healthy. Yes. Okay, so that blew my prediction out of the water. You didn't want to give a prediction because of the leak in the O2 sensor, which is fair. Wow, this thing makes jam. I knew it was kind of fast, but like, I didn't know it was that fast. So, oh man, this is gonna be a ripper when we're done. So if I do that correction factor that I did earlier from this new horsepower on a Mustang dyno, I think we're at 540 crank horsepower, which is 40 horsepower more than the owner told me, which again, these are kind of all whatever numbers because nothing really ever makes sense, but adding the 10% for a Mustang dyno to a dyno jet and then 15% from a Mustang dyno to a dyno jet to a crank horsepower number, which is 540, I mean, I'm blown away by that number. We are gonna do one more pull. We're gonna let it cool down fully, and then we'll see what kind of numbers we get, but this has already exceeded my expectations. This is a ripper. Oh man, I only went to, what was it, 6,500? So I'm gonna try and go to 6,700 and see if that makes a difference, because I mean, it was making great power and still making boost, so this is gonna be fun. All right, let's go. This time I'm gonna film my gauges, and you'll see the thing in the corner of the screen right there. So let me just set that up like that. There, now you can see everything. Okay, let's go for it. Okay, we're gonna go from 3,500 this time, and we're basically gonna go all the way to red line. Okay, let's see what we made this time. Same, less, more? More! 436 and 454. All right. This thing pulls hard all the way to red line. So red line was like right at like 7 and a bit.
768.
Wow, okay, that's amazing. All right, so we can't see any air-fuel ratios because we don't have anything hooked up or anything, so yeah, okay. Cool, I'm really happy with that. Yeah, it's really good. That's a good baseline, 436, 450. Well, that's it, unstrap and start modding this thing. 436 horsepower to the rear wheels? This thing is a certified ripper, beyond my expectations, high mileage Cobra, questionable modifications, don't even know anything about the tune. This thing rips. So let's get to these power numbers. 436, add 10% for a Mustang dyno to a dyno jet. That brings me to about 480 to the rear wheels. Add 15% for the drivetrain loss. These are the most accepted internet numbers that I could possibly find. That brings me to about 551 horsepower at the crank. Here's where I'm gonna get realistic. I don't think that's actually where this thing is at. It feels great, but 550, 551, that's a little bit on the high side, I would say. Realistically, what I feel that this thing has, I'd say between 500 and 520 at the crank, which is basically exactly what the previous owner told me, if not a little bit higher, so no disappointment on my end. This already makes more power than a brand new Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Yeah, the one with 500 horsepower to the crank. Well, I found some dyno charts online showing those Dark Horses making approximately 400 to 430 at the rear wheels on a dyno jet. So accounting for the drivetrain loss, this thing is definitely beating that Dark Horse. I think it would even take it at the drag strip, of course, but you can get those in auto, but who wants to drag race in automatic? Come on, let's be real. I know they're faster, but they're just not as fun. So in terms of mods, if you didn't watch the first two videos, I'll give you a little quick brief rundown, the ones that actually matter for power. We do have a smaller pulley. I did measure the outside diameter. It's 3.1 inches, so I'm assuming the inner diameter, because I can't really measure it without taking the belt off, is going to be approximately 2.9, so I did get a smaller pulley. Hopefully it's actually smaller. We'll see about that later. It does have a cold air intake into the fender well. I'm not sure of the brand. It kind of looks like it could be a BBK. And then we also have shorty headers. Again, can't see the brand. They look like they are also a BBK. We have a BBK catted mid pipe. Doesn't really seem like the cats are really doing anything anymore, and it does have an exhaust leak from the actual O2 sensor. The bung is cracked. I tried to seal that up as best as I could. And then the mating surface where it gets to the catback, which is a MagnaFlow, also has an exhaust leak. So it put those numbers down with at least 2 exhaust leaks. Couldn't ask for more. I'm gonna keep saying that because I swear this blew everything I had for expectations out of the water. Now, although we just established that the Cobra is a certified ripper, definitely quick, looks pretty good too, this is where the real fun begins because I've got some sponsors that have hopped on board. So I did a big build with Fox Body, and I learned my lesson that, you know, a big build takes a lot of time, a lot of money. So I'm not gonna do a big build on this one because big builds take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of financial investment. So this is gonna be a nice, mild, reasonable build. Nothing too crazy at all. And a huge thank you to all the sponsors that have hopped on board. Summit Racing, Borla Performance, Maximum Motorsports, and a couple other websites that I've had to buy some parts from. Whew. That's not even all the boxes yet. A couple of the Maximum Motorsports boxes are still arriving. So this is a little bit of what's gonna happen over the next couple videos. So definitely stay tuned because once all of these performance parts and aesthetic parts are going to be installed, I'll be throwing it back on the dyno at D'Souza Performance to see how many extra ponies we pick up on this little pony car. Honestly, I don't even care if it's any, it could be the same. I just want it to sound better the way that I want it to sound. Hence we got some parts over here and some parts over there. And I just want it to look a little bit different, the way that I really envisioned my own Cobra, not at monster truck height, things like that. So stay tuned for this series because there's also gonna be detailing, the full paint correction, the whole process is gonna be filmed. So thank you guys for watching it up to this point and subscribe if you wanna see more. Thanks for watching. I'm so excited. The build starts now.